The great hall of Zerion Prime buzzed with voices from 100 different worlds. Ambassador Kethvar stood at the center podium, his green scales catching the light as he spoke. His voice was deep and carried across the room with authority. Tux, humans are nothing but stories, he said, looking at the assembled delegates. Old tales told by foolish races who cannot explain what they do not understand. The Grand Council chamber was massive, built to hold representatives from every corner of the galaxy. Floating seats held beings of all shapes and sizes. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and many looked nothing like anything from old Earth legends. They had been meeting for 3 days, arguing about the same thing over and over. Dr. Veltar shifted in his seat near the back. The old Zephyrian's blue skin was wrinkled with age, and his large eyes held knowledge that most others lacked. Had spent his entire life studying the old records, the forgotten histories that others dismissed as myth. You speak of humans as if they never existed, Dr. Veltar said, his voice quiet but firm. Yet we have their technology. We use their star maps. Their medical advances still save lives across the galaxy. Ambassador Kethvar's eyes narrowed. Ancient technology, yes. But where are these legendary humans now? If they were so powerful, so advanced, why did they simply disappear? The answer is simple. They never existed, as the stories claim. The debate had started 3 days ago, when a mining team found something strange on Kepler 442b. The dead world at the edge of Federation space had revealed ruins unlike anything they had seen before. The symbols matched those in the oldest records, the ones that spoke of the human race. Perhaps they left because they grew tired of us, said Council Member Zarbeth, her crystalline form sparkling as she spoke. The old stories say humans could live anywhere, fight anyone, and heal from wounds that would kill any of us. Maybe they found better company among the stars. Laughter rippled through parts of the chamber. The idea seemed foolish to many. How could any single race be so superior? Evolution did not work that way. Every species had strengths and weaknesses. Dr. Veltar stood slowly, his walking stick clicking against the floor. I have news that might change your minds, he said. The ruins on Kepler 442b are not as old as we first thought. The chamber fell silent. Even Ambassador Kethvar stopped his pacing. What do you mean? Asked the council president, a massive being whose species resembled walking trees. The technology we found there has been maintained, Dr. Veltar continued. Someone has been keeping those facilities running. Someone with knowledge of human engineering and human codes. Ambassador Kethvar scoffed. Impossible. That world has been dead for 200 years. Our scanners show no life, no activity. Our scanners show what they are designed to detect, Dr. Veltar replied. But what if someone does not want to be detected? What if the stories about human stealth technology are true, far beyond the edge of Federation space on a world that appeared on no star charts? Commander Jake Morrison watched the Federation debates through intercepted signals. The transmission was clear despite the distance, thanks to technology that the Federation had forgotten existed. The human settlement was small, hidden in a valley between mountain ranges that blocked most scans. 50,000 people lived there, the last survivors of a race that once numbered in the billions. They had built a new life in exile, but they had never forgotten their old home. They're still arguing about whether we're real, Morrison said, to Lieutenant Lisa Parker, who stood beside him watching the screen. 300 years and they still think we're just stories. Lisa's face was hard as stone. She had been born on this hidden world, but her grandparents had told her stories of Earth, of the great cities and blue oceans that humanity had lost. Maybe it's better if they keep thinking that way. Is it? Morrison asked. We've been watching them for centuries. We've seen their struggles, their wars, their progress. We could have helped them, we could have come back. After what they did to us? Lisa's voice carried old anger, the kind that gets passed down through generations. They created a plague that killed 3 billion humans. They drove us from our home worlds. They tried to wipe us out because they feared what we might become. Morrison nodded. The history was burned into every human child's memory. The early Federation races had seemed friendly at first. They had welcomed humanity into their alliance, shared technology, and spoken of peace among the stars. But behind closed doors, they had planned humanity's destruction. The plague had been perfect. It looked natural, like a virus that had jumped from animals to humans. But human scientists had eventually discovered the truth. It was engineered, designed specifically to target human genetics. By the time they understood what was happening, it was too late to save their worlds. "The Admiral wants to see you," Lisa said, pointing to another figure approaching across the compound. Admiral Helen Stone was in her 80s, but she moved with the strength of someone half her age. Human medical technology had advanced considerably during their exile. She was one of the last people alive who remembered Earth before the plague. "Morrison," she said, "what's your opinion on the Kepler situation?" "They're finally taking notice," Morrison replied. "Dr. Veltar seems to suspect the truth." Admiral Stone looked at the screen where the Federation debate continued. "Veltar is a good man. He was one of the few who spoke against the plague when it first appeared. His people tried to help us." "That was 3 centuries ago," Lisa said. "Most of the people responsible are long dead. But their descendants still rule the Federation," Admiral Stone replied. "The question is, are we ready to reveal ourselves? Are we ready to return to a galaxy that tried to destroy us?" Morrison considered this. For 300 years, humanity had been rebuilding. They had developed new technologies, new medicines, and new ways of thinking. They had learned to survive in the harshest environments and to hide from those who might wish them harm. But they had also been watching. Human ships, invisible to Federation sensors, had been patrolling the galaxy's edge for decades. They had seen the Federation's struggles with pirates, with resource shortages, and with the occasional alien threat from beyond known space. "There's something else," Admiral Stone said. "Our deep space scouts have detected movement in the void regions. Something is coming from outside the galaxy, something that makes the old Federation enemies look like children playing with toys." Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. "The void wraiths? We think so. The energy signatures match what our oldest computers remember from the Edge Wars. If they're really coming back, the Federation won't be able to stop them alone." Lisa looked between them. "So we have a choice. We can stay hidden and watch the galaxy burn, or we can reveal ourselves and help the people who tried to destroy us." Admiral Stone smiled grimly. "When you put it that way, it doesn't sound like much of a choice at all, does it?" Back on Zerion Prime, Dr. Veltar was still speaking to the Council. "I propose we mount an expedition to Kepler 442b, a full research mission with military escort. If humans are truly just legend, we will find empty ruins and put these questions to rest forever." Ambassador Kethvar looked around the chamber, seeing nods from many delegates. "Very well. But when we find nothing but old stones and broken machines, I expect this foolish obsession with human myths to end." Dr. Veltar bowed slightly. "If that is what we find, Ambassador, then I will gladly accept your wisdom." But in his heart, the old scholar knew they would find much more than broken machines. He had studied the legends too long, had seen too many pieces of evidence that others ignored. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of known space, the humans were waiting. The only question was whether they would come as friends or as something far more dangerous. The Federation research ship Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler system. Dr. Veltar pressed his face against the viewing port, staring at the dead world that hung in space before them. Kepler 442b looked like a burned rock, its surface scarred by ancient battles. "Scans show the same readings as before," reported Captain Mordak, the ship's commander. His thick arms moved across the control panel with practiced ease. "No life signs, no energy signatures, just dead ruins." Ambassador Kethvar stood behind the captain's chair, his green scales darker than usual in the dim light. "As I expected, we have come all this way to look at old stones." Dr. Veltar did not respond. He had learned long ago that patience was more valuable than argument. The truth would reveal itself soon enough. The Horizon landed near the largest ruin complex, sending clouds of red dust into the thin atmosphere. The away team consisted of 12 beings from 6 different species, all wearing environmental suits. Dr. Veltar led the group toward the massive structure that rose from the planet's surface like a metal mountain. The building was clearly not Federation design. The angles were different, the materials unknown. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly in the weak sunlight. Some of the research team recognized them from the oldest databases, symbols that appeared in legends about the human race. "These markings are fresh," said Dr. Yilrath, running her scanner along the wall. "They should have faded centuries ago, but something is keeping them active." Ambassador Kethvar examined the symbols with growing unease. "Perhaps the materials are more durable than we thought." They entered through a doorway that opened automatically as they approached. The interior was vast, filled with machinery that hummed quietly despite the planet's supposed abandonment. Emergency lights flickered on as they walked deeper into the complex. "Captain," came a voice over the radio from the horizon. "We're detecting energy spikes from your location. Whatever is down there, it's definitely not dead." Far above the planet, invisible to Federation sensors, the human ship Silent Dawn held position in the shadow of Kepler's moon. Captain Alex Turner watched the Federation team through advanced surveillance systems, his crew gathered around him on the bridge. "They're inside the facility," reported engineer Katie Brooks, her fingers flying across holographic displays. "All 12 of them, just as we expected." Lieutenant Ryan Clark, the ship's tactical officer, studied the readings from his station. "The Wraith scout ships are still 3 hours out. We have time to make contact before things get messy. Captain." Turner nodded slowly. The decision had been made weeks ago, but it still felt strange after 3 centuries of hiding. "Are we really ready for this? Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back." "The Admiral's orders were clear," Ryan said. "The Federation needs to know what's coming. The Void Wraiths will tear through their defenses like paper if they're not prepared." Katie looked up from her console. "Besides, Dr. Veltar deserves to know he was right. That old scientist has been fighting for the truth longer than any of us have been alive." Down in the ruins, Dr. Veltar had found something that made his hearts race. Hidden behind a sealed door was a room filled with advanced medical equipment, all of it clearly maintained and functional. The technology was centuries ahead of anything the Federation possessed. "This equipment is running on standby power," Dr. Yilrath said, her voice filled with wonder. "Someone has been keeping it operational. Recently." Ambassador Kethvar touched one of the machines carefully. It responded to his presence, displaying information in a language that none of them could read. "If humans are just legends, then who has been caring for their technology?" Dr. Veltar found a computer terminal that activated when he approached. The screen flickered to life, showing what appeared to be a recording. The image was of a human woman in military uniform, her dark hair pulled back and her eyes filled with determination. "If you are seeing this," the woman said, "then you have finally come looking for the truth. I am Admiral Helen Stone, commander of the Human Exodus Fleet. The year is 2387, and this is likely my final message to the galaxy we once called home." The Federation team gathered around the screen, watching in stunned silence. The woman in the recording looked exactly like the humans described in the old legends, similar to several Federation species but somehow different, more adaptable. "We know what was done to us," Admiral Stone continued. "The plague that destroyed our worlds was not natural. We have proof of its creation, proof of the conspiracy to eliminate humanity from the galaxy. But we do not seek revenge. We seek only to survive." Ambassador Kethvar's hands shook as he watched. His people had been part of the Federation during those times. His ancestors might have known about the plague. "We leave this message because we know that someday the galaxy will face a threat that your current strength cannot handle. When that day comes, remember that humans do not abandon those who need help, even those who have wronged us. We will return when you need us most." The recording ended, leaving the team in shocked silence. Dr. Veltar felt vindicated, but also deeply sad. The legends were true, but they told a story of betrayal and loss that few had wanted to believe. "Captain," came an urgent voice over the radio. "We're detecting multiple unknown contacts approaching the system. Large ships moving fast." Captain Turner made his decision. "All right, people. It's time to make our entrance. Katie, drop the stealth field. Ryan, prepare to send the standard greeting. Let's hope they don't shoot first and ask questions later. The silent dawn shimmered into visibility above Kepler 442b, its sleek design unlike anything in the Federation fleet. The ship was smaller than the horizon but radiated power from every line of its hull. "Unknown vessel," came Captain Mordak's voice over open channels. "Identify yourself immediately, or we will consider you hostile." Captain Turner took a deep breath and opened the communication channel. "Federation vessel Horizon, this is Captain Alex Turner of the human ship Silent Dawn. We come in peace, and we come with a warning." On the planet's surface, Dr. Veltar heard the transmission and felt his legs go weak. After centuries of debate and disbelief, he was listening to a living human speak. "Impossible," Ambassador Kethavar whispered. "They're supposed to be extinct." "Captain Turner," Dr. Veltar said into his communicator. "This is Dr. Veltar of the Federation research team. We have found your message, Admiral Stone's message. We understand what happened to your people." "Dr. Veltar," came the reply. "We know who you are. Your research has been accurate and your people tried to help during the plague years. We have not forgotten your kindness." The moment was interrupted by alarms from both ships. The unknown. Contacts were dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. What emerged was nothing like any ship in Federation records. The Void Wraith vessels were organic in appearance, black as space itself and covered in what looked like writhing tentacles. There were dozens of them, and they moved with predatory grace toward the two ships near Kepler 442b. "All Federation personnel," Captain Turner's voice cut through the panic. "This is why we returned. The Void Wraiths consume everything in their path. Matter, energy, life itself. Your weapons will not stop them, but ours might." The Silent Dawn moved to intercept the Wraith ships, its weapons charging with energy signatures that Federation sensors could barely detect. Captain Turner's voice came over the radio one more time. "Dr. Veltar, get your team back to your ship immediately. Ambassador Kethavar, you're about to see why the human legend spoke of warriors who could fight in any battle and survive any odds. The question is, are you ready to fight beside us?" As the first Wraith ship opened fire, its dark energy beams reaching across space toward the Federation vessel, the Silent Dawn responded with weapons that turned night to day. The battle for Kepler 442b had begun, and with it humanity's return to galactic history. Ambassador Kethavar watched in amazement as human technology tore through Wraith defenses like they were made of paper. The legends, it seemed, had not exaggerated human capabilities at all. If anything, they had understated them. The real question was what humanity would do with those capabilities now that they had returned to a galaxy that had once tried to destroy them. The news of humanity's return spread through Federation space faster than any ship could travel. On every world, in every station, beings gathered around communication screens to hear the impossible truth. The humans were not legend. They were real. They were alive. And they had just saved a Federation research team from creatures that defied understanding. Fleet Admiral Sam Carter stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Defiant, watching as 11 other human vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Federation space. His fleet was small, only 12 ships, but each one carried technology that made the largest Federation battleships look like toys. "Admiral," reported Commander Lisa Parker from the communication station, "we're receiving over 3,000 messages from Federation worlds. Some welcome us home, others demand we turn around and leave." Admiral Carter was a tall man with gray hair and scars that told stories of battles fought in the dark years after the Exodus. He had been a young officer when humanity fled the galaxy, and now he was leading them back as an old man. "What about the Council?" he asked. "Mixed reactions," Lisa replied. "Dr. Veltar has been speaking on our behalf, but Ambassador Kethavar is having trouble convincing his own people that we're not here for revenge." Carter nodded. He understood their fear. Humanity had every right to seek payback for what had been done to them. 3 billion dead, entire worlds turned into graveyards, and the survivors forced to flee into the cold darkness between galaxies. But revenge was not why they had returned. "Send a message to Zerion Prime," Carter ordered. Tell them we request permission to dock and address the Grand Council. Tell them we come not as conquerors, but as the galaxy's last hope against what's coming. On the planet's surface, General Maria Santos prepared for the most important diplomatic mission in human history. She stood in the shuttle bay of the human transport ship Horizon's Light, checking her equipment one final time. With her were communications specialist Danny Walsh and cultural liaison Beth Coleman, both experts in Federation languages and customs. Remember, Maria said to her team, we're not just representing humanity today. We're representing the survival of every living being in this galaxy. Danny adjusted his translation device. The Void Wraiths consumed 6 star systems in the past month. The Federation military can't even slow them down. Beth looked worried. What if the Council refuses to work with us? What if they'd rather face extinction than accept help from humans? Then we save the galaxy without their permission. Maria replied simply, but I'm hoping they're smarter than that. The shuttle landed on Xerion Prime's main diplomatic platform, surrounded by Federation security forces. General Santos and her team emerged to find themselves facing dozens of weapons and hundreds of curious faces. It had been 3 centuries since a human had walked on Federation soil. Dr. Veltar waited at the edge of the security perimeter, his old face showing joy and relief. Behind him stood Ambassador Kethvar, who looked nervous and uncertain. The two had become unlikely allies since the events at Kepler 442b. General Santos, Dr. Veltar said, stepping forward carefully. Welcome home. Maria smiled, the first genuine smile she had worn in days. Thank you, Dr. Veltar. Your research gave us hope that not everyone in the Federation had forgotten us. Ambassador Kethvar approached more slowly. General, I must ask, what are your intentions here? Your people have every reason to hate us. Our intentions are simple, Maria replied. We want to save lives, all lives, human, Saurian, Zephyrian, every species in this galaxy. The Void Wraiths don't care about our old conflicts. They'll consume everything if we don't stop them. The Grand Council chamber had been modified for the historic meeting. Extra security surrounded the speaker's platform, and every major news network in the galaxy was broadcasting the proceedings. Maria stood at the center podium where Ambassador Kethvar had dismissed human legends just weeks earlier. Members of the Grand Council, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. I am General Maria Santos of the Human Defense Force. I stand before you not as an enemy, but as someone who has seen what's coming for all of us. The chamber was filled with whispers and gasps. Many delegates were seeing a living human for the first time in their lives. Maria looked exactly as the legends described, adaptable, determined, and somehow more intense than other species. Your ancestors tried to destroy my people, Maria continued, her voice steady and calm. They created a plague that killed 3 billion humans and drove us from our homes. We could have spent the last 3 centuries planning revenge. Instead, we spent it preparing to save a galaxy that betrayed us. Council President Torvak, the massive tree-like being, leaned forward in his floating chair. Why? Why would you help those who wronged you? Because that's what humans do, Maria said simply. We don't abandon people who need help, even people who have hurt us. It's not about forgiveness or forgetting. It's about doing what's right. She activated a holographic display that showed the Void Wraith advance through Federation space. The dark ships moved like a plague across the star map, leaving empty systems in their wake. The Wraiths are not like any enemy you've faced before, Maria explained. They don't just destroy planets, they consume them. Matter, energy, even the space between atoms. They turn everything into more of themselves. Ambassador Kethvar stood up in his section of the chamber. General Santos speaks the truth. I have seen Wraith ships with my own eyes. Our weapons pass through them like they're not even there. But human weapons work, Dr. Veltar added. I witnessed their effectiveness at Kepler 442b. The technology humans developed during their exile is centuries ahead of our own. A delegate from the warrior Korth species challenged the claim. If human technology is so advanced, why do you need our help? Why not fight the Wraiths alone? Maria's expression grew serious. Because there are too many of them and too few of us. Humanity numbers barely 50,000 souls. We have 12 warships. The Wraiths have millions of vessels and they're building more every day. She changed the holographic display to show the human battle plan. But we have something they don't expect. A weapon that targets their hive mind directly. It requires precise coordination across multiple star systems. We need Federation ships, Federation crews, and Federation courage to make it work. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some delegates called for immediate cooperation, while others demanded proof that humans could be trusted. The debate raged for hours, with old fears and new hopes clashing in equal measure. Finally, Council President Torvak called for order. General Santos, what exactly are you proposing? A joint task force, Maria replied. Human ships working alongside Federation vessels. Your crews learning our tactics, our crews sharing your knowledge of local space. Together, we strike at the Wraith invasion fleet before they can reach the core worlds. And after the battle? Asked a delegate from the peaceful Myrtai species. What happens to human Federation relations then? Maria looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of beings whose ancestors had tried to eliminate her species. That's up to you. We came back to save lives, not to make demands. If you want us to leave again after the Wraiths are defeated, we'll respect that choice. Ambassador Kethvar stood again. The General offers us salvation without conditions. She asks for nothing but the chance to protect us. How can we refuse such an offer? Dr. Veltar's voice carried across the chamber. The legends always said that humans would return when the galaxy needed them most. Perhaps we should have trusted those legends. The vote, when it finally came, was closer than Maria had hoped, but decisive enough to matter. The Federation would join humanity in the fight against the Void Wraiths. As delegates filed out of the chamber, many stopped to look at the humans who stood calmly at the center platform. After 3 centuries of myth and legend, they were finally seeing the reality of what humanity represented. Not conquerors or destroyers, but protectors willing to die for people who had once tried to kill them. The real test, however, would come in battle. The Wraiths were already moving toward the next target system and time was running out for everyone. The Nexus system blazed with the light of 1,000 ships. The combined Human Federation fleet had gathered at the dimensional gateway where the Void Wraiths entered the galaxy. It was the largest military force ever assembled, with vessels from 50 different worlds flying alongside the 12 human warships. Captain Nick Thompson stood on the bridge of the human flagship Defiant, watching as more Federation ships arrived every hour. His crew had been preparing for this battle their entire lives, but seeing allies who had once been enemies still felt strange. Admiral Carter sends his regards, reported Lieutenant Amy Foster from the communication station. He's coordinating with the Federation commanders on the final attack plan. Nick nodded. Admiral Carter was aboard the Federation command ship, working directly with Admiral Zorketh of the Saurian fleet. The sight of human and Federation officers planning together would have been impossible just weeks ago. How long until the Wraiths arrive? Nick asked. Sergeant Chris Martinez looked up from his tactical display. Long-range sensors show their main fleet 6 hours out, millions of ships, sir. More than we've ever seen in one place. Through the viewing ports, Nick could see the Nexus itself. A swirling portal of dark energy that connected this galaxy to the void between worlds. The Wraiths had opened it using technology stolen from consumed civilizations. Closing it would cut off their reinforcements, but first they had to deal with the invasion fleet already through. On the Federation command ship Unity, Admiral Carter studied the battle plans with his new allies. Admiral Zorketh was the experienced warrior whose people had fought in more wars than most species could remember. Despite their ancestors' role in the human exile, he had welcomed Carter as an equal. Your plan is dangerous, Zorketh said, his reptilian features showing concern. Sending ships into the Wraith dimension could be suicide. It's the only way, Carter replied. The portal has to be closed from both sides simultaneously. Someone has to go through and shut down their gateway controls. Dr. Veltar, who had insisted on joining the fleet despite his age, spoke from his position at the science station. The energy readings suggest the portal will collapse completely once both sides are sealed. Anyone inside the Wraith dimension when that happens won't be coming back, Carter finished. I know. That's why I'm leading the team personally. Across the fleet, human and Federation crews worked together to prepare for battle. On the destroyer New Dawn, Commander Tony Rivers trained Federation engineers in human weapon systems. The aliens learned quickly, but human technology was unlike anything they had used before. Remember, Tony told a group of young Zephyrian technicians, human weapons don't just destroy targets, they adapt to them. The guns will learn how to hurt the Wraiths better with each shot. In the medical bay of the cruiser Starfire, Captain Laura Hayes worked with Federation doctors to set up treatment centers. Human medical technology could heal wounds that would kill other species, but they needed Federation knowledge of alien biology to help everyone. The Wraiths drain life energy as well as destroying tissue, Laura explained to Dr. Sylvan, a crystalline being whose people were gifted healers. Human medicines can restore that energy, but we need your techniques to stabilize alien patients. The first Wraith scouts appeared at the edge of the system like drops of black oil against the stars. They moved without sound or visible propulsion, sliding through space with predatory grace. Long-range sensors showed the massive invasion fleet. Behind them, a dark cloud that blotted out entire sections of the galaxy. All ships, battle stations, came Admiral Carter's voice over the fleet communications. Remember, this isn't just about winning a battle. This is about saving every living thing in the galaxy. The Wraith advance guard struck first, their dark, energy beams reaching across impossible distances to strike Federation ships. The aliens' shields flared and died under the assault, but human vessels moved to intercept, their advanced defenses absorbing attacks that would have destroyed any other ships. Lieutenant Amy Foster piloted her fighter through clouds of Wraith vessels, her weapons cutting bright lines through the darkness. Beside her flew Federation pilots who had trained with humans for only days, but fought with the courage of veterans. Stay in formation, Amy called over the radio. Don't let them separate us, humans and Federation together. The main Wraith fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like a nightmare made real. Ships the size of cities, creatures that were part machine and part living darkness, weapons that fired concentrated hatred and despair. They had consumed entire civilizations and turned their technology into tools of destruction, but they had never faced anything like the combined fleet that waited for them. Human ships dove into the Wraith formation with weapons that learned and adapted with each shot. Federation vessels provided covering fire and support, their crews fighting with desperate courage. The battle raged across the entire system, with explosions lighting up the darkness between planets. On the Defiant, Captain Nick Thompson coordinated the defense while his crew worked frantically to keep their ship fighting. Sergeant Chris Martinez called out target priorities while Lieutenant Amy Foster, now back from her fighter mission, managed communications with Allied ships. The portal's energy is building, reported Dr. Kelly Wright from the science station. The Wraiths are trying to bring through more ships. Admiral Carter made his decision. All ships, this is Carter. I'm taking a volunteer team into the Wraith dimension to shut down their portal controls. Colonel Ben Taylor will lead the ground assault while I handle the technical work. Sir, came Nick Thompson's voice over the radio. Let us go instead. The Defiant is built for this kind of mission. Negative, Captain. Your ship is needed here to coordinate the defense. This is something I have to do myself. Carter's team consisted of 12 volunteers, 6 humans and 6 Federation officers, who had insisted on joining the suicide mission. They boarded a specially modified ship designed to survive the journey through the portal and into the dark dimension beyond. As they approached the Nexus, the portal's energy tore at their ship like living claws. The Wraith dimension was a place where normal physics didn't apply, where darkness had weight and despair could kill. But human determination and Federation courage proved stronger than alien nightmares. Inside the Wraith dimension, Carter and Colonel Ben Taylor fought their way through creatures made of living shadow while Dr. Kelly Wright and Federation scientist Mortel worked to understand the alien controls. The portal machinery was huge, built from the remains of 1,000 conquered worlds. I can shut it down, Kelly reported, but someone has to stay to make sure it doesn't restart. The controls require constant manual input. Carter and his team looked at each other. They had known this might be a one-way trip, but the reality was still hard to face. "Do it," Carter ordered. "Close the portal, save the galaxy." As the Wraith Gateway collapsed, sealing the dimensional rift forever, the invasion fleet found itself cut off from reinforcements. Without fresh ships and energy from their home dimension, they began to weaken. Human and Federation weapons, working together, finally began to win. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, space around the Nexus was filled with the wreckage of Wraith ships and the debris of dark dreams. The combined fleet had lost many vessels, but they had saved the galaxy from consumption and darkness. On Zerion Prime, Dr. Veltar stood before the Grand Council once more. His old voice carried clearly through the chamber as he spoke of humanity's sacrifice and courage. "Admiral Carter and his team gave their lives to save us all," he said. "They proved that the legends were true, but not in the way we expected. Humans aren't legendary because they're stronger or smarter than us. They're legendary because they choose to be better than us." The new human ambassador, Commander Jake Morrison, stood at the same podium where the debate about human existence had begun. The Federation had formally apologized for the plague centuries ago and offered humanity a permanent place in galactic society. "We never really left," Morrison told the assembled delegates. "We've been watching over the galaxy from the shadows, protecting worlds that didn't even know we existed. We're not asking for payment or praise. We're just glad to be home." Outside the council chamber, children from dozens of species played together in the plaza. Human children, born in exile but raised with stories of Earth, ran alongside young aliens whose grandparents had never believed humans were real. The legends had become reality, but reality had proven to be more amazing than any legend could be. Humans had returned not as conquerors or saviors, but as family coming home after a long and difficult journey. And in the depths of space, hidden stations and secret colonies began to decloak, revealing the truth that Dr. Veltar had suspected all along. Humanity had never truly left the galaxy. They had simply been waiting for the right moment to remind everyone that legends sometimes contain more truth than history ever could.